Dan Chirac, Director and Principal of Chirac Consulting. Thank you for speaking with us on France 24.
My pleasure.
Do you share Donald Trump's enthusiasm?
Well, the agreement is not all that much different than the original NAFTA in terms of its specifics. NAFTA was a highly open agreement. And insofar as as the USMCA changes things, it's primarily in the direction of making things more protectionist. Now, I'm a trade quantitative guy, so when you look at a trade deal in those through that lens, you see basically negatives. The more restrictive rules of origin that are intended to divert trade within North America causes trade diversion, but trade diversion is a negative in the trade quantitative world. The additional protection for intellectual property for drugs means higher costs for healthcare down the line, and that would also be a negative. The extended term of protection for intellectual property to 70 years for natural persons and 75 years for corporates will delay the introduction of a generation's worth of creative work for reuse, such as turning books into films and so forth. So those are all on the negative side. On the positive side, you have some small things. There's a de minimis level that's been raised to allow cross-border shopping without tariffs from $20 in Canada to $150. That's would be rounding error in our measurement. And there's been expansion of the imports into Canada of dairy and I believe chicken and eggs. And that would also be trade liberalizing to a certain degree. Wine would be allowed on the shelves of grocery stores in British Columbia. That was an American concern. All these things are on the positive side, but they're small. Now, the market reacted well, but I think that was more a sigh of relief than saying, gee, this is the best thing since Swiss cheese.
You were ruing a few weeks back the way Donald Trump entered these negotiations. He did a lot of Canada bashing. In fact, we heard a bit more when he was at the UN last week. What do you think now of his trade tactics?
Well, it's interesting about the optics of this deal. When we signed the original Canada-US FTA and then the NAFTA, there was this sense of three amigos, of countries coming together to produce things together, to make things together. And there was a lot of positive animal spirits, business people getting on the plane to go and do business in each other's countries. This particular deal, it removes North America. There's no more North America. It removes the words free trade. It's not free trade. There are quotas in place just in case you happen to expand your market share. And of course, the relationship issue has been damaging, not just the style of the negotiations, which were diplomatically toxic, but in terms of the weaponization of uncertainty to make it unwise for businesses to establish themselves in another country to serve the U.S. market, where they might face taxes if they establish in Canada. So the relationship element of this is a negative. So, and what we see is that Canada has appointed the new trade minister as the Minister of Trade Diversification, talking about third markets, not so much the U.S. And I believe Mexico would also be looking south. So while there's a sense of relief that major new tariff measures have not been imposed within North America, I don't see the animal spirit saying that this is going to lead to something bigger and better. It's a question of a rearguard action trying to save what we have.
Yet that's how Donald Trump's been spinning it ever since they signed late last night. No, we're now all in together. It's one big free trade area, making it sound, in a sense, like, well, this is all just negotiating tactics.
Well, indeed, he repeated that point twice in his speech today. But I wonder if we'll see this animal spirits feeling ignited in North America, where the threat of tariffs has not been removed. The auto tariffs have just been suspended. So if you're living under the sort of Damocles of having tariff walls come down between you and your market, are you going to take the plunge and invest? I don't think so. So in those terms, I believe the best that can be said about this is that it could have been worse. In terms of the where this deal is going as well, it's primarily aimed at the 20th century economy. For the 21st century economy, the world, the data-driven economy, the digitalized world, it imposes some restrictions on regarding the localization of data. You can't do that, and requires a free flow of data across borders. Now, that's important for trade and services. But data is also the soft infrastructure of the digitalized economy, and it has to be secure. And we see time and again massive breaches of security, of cybersecurity. So how is that compatible with those requirements? Uh, my biggest concern lies in that we have not yet had enough experience with the digitalized economy to actually put in place regulations, let alone international trade commitments. And then there's the issue of data as oil. This agreement seems to be oblivious to the fact that data has got tremendous value, and it requires, in fact, that data flow across borders without compensation. You can imagine if we went back 100 years to when oil was the new oil, and you required that foreign companies should be allowed to come invest in your country, take out the oil without royalties, how well that would have gone over. So there are major issues in that space that I think are point you to the conclusion that it would be unwise to sign these particular agreements, and that it could lead to a fairly significant extraction of wealth from Canada to the United States to the major internet corporations.
All right. And